Welcome to Arts in the City. I'm Tony Guida at the Noguchi Museum in Queens. Although the museum is known for its internationally acclaimed outdoor sculpture garden, it also has 10 indoor galleries. Currently, they feature the work of Uruguayan artist Gonzalo Fonseca. The exhibition encompasses some 80 objects from the 1960s through the 90s, primarily stoneworks carved by Fonseca in his studios in Lower Manhattan and Tuscany. The exhibit also features a selection of Fonseca's drawings and sketchbooks. The sculpture of Gonzalo Fonseca is on display through March 11th. The heart and home of New York City's LGBT community in Greenwich Village is at a place called the Center. It is also a treasure trove of art. Beth Kovetz has the story.
In December of 1984, the property located at 208 West 13th Street in Greenwich Village was purchased by the Lesbian and Gay Community Services Center, Incorporated. In 1989, they invited their members in to paint the walls.
Well, that's one way of looking at it. It was a little bit more complicated than that. A gallery manager in Soho said, we're coming up on the 20th anniversary of Stonewall. We should be doing something about that, and he proposed that we do site-specific installations. 25 male artists, 25 female artists who would be invited in, decide what they wanted to do and where they wanted to do it, with very little direction other than reflect on this is 20 years since Stonewall and create work.
And the work they created was so spectacular that nearly 30 years later, parts of it are still on display at the center. Some of the art was created directly on the walls, and Woodworth pointed out to us that a portion of that harkens back to the LGBT community's historic use of unpermitted art spaces.
There's a lineage there in terms of art made by people to reclaim space, to say things that probably couldn't be said somewhere else.
We started our tour in the Kaplan Auditorium. The work still hanging in the Kaplan is an excellent example of the center's preservation challenges.
That's old plaster from the 30s, if not before. And so came in, painted on it. There were some other things on the wall. There used to be steam pipes.
This is what the work, originally titled Adam and Eve by George Whitman, looked like in 1989. And this is what the center has been able to preserve.
Okay, so Joan of Arc, St. Sebastian, icons which resonate with LGBT people, both martyrs, one male, one female, who were tormented and killed. So there's some resonance there.
The center welcomes all art lovers, and as you walk through the public rooms, you'll find amazing works on every wall. But we thought we should take you to the pieces of the collection not easily viewed. In an old staircase, there's a piece of art called If Gold Were Rats.
It's done by a guy named Thomas Lanigan Schmidt, who was actually in the Stonewall riots, and some of that story is told in his piece. Who was there, what was going on that night. But it's a testament to actually what went on in Stonewall during the riots. This is another one of those environmental pieces where the window is historic, shall we say. Like someday those windows have to go, you know, the fire department's going to tell us to replace them. You know. So we are now standing at, I think, the last remaining pink triangle that's in the building. It was painted by Robert Storr, who went on to become the chairman of the art department at Yale. I think I have that title right. And he wasn't a producing artist, he was an art historian, but he wanted to be part of the show. So this was his way to do this. Take the pink triangle symbol, which comes out of the Nazi era. It was the symbol that was worn by basically gay men in the concentration camps, and had been turned into an early symbol of gay pride by reclaiming a negative image and using it in a positive way. You have a history and you have a self-knowledge based on the stories you tell. And the stories you tell are reflected in the language you use, the words you choose to use, and there's a visual language as well as a linguistic language that you can employ that way. So everybody has them, and icons and deities, and into ancient civilizations and native civilizations, there are symbols which represent things that help you tell the story. So, so this is one of the ways in which the LGBT community tells its story.
This has been Beth Kovetz for Arts in the City.
Here's an art you don't think about every day, glass blowing. It is based on a technique discovered 2,100 years ago, a technique you can learn now in Brooklyn. Mike Gilliam tells more.
So you can see the consistency of the molten glass is like honey. And it responds to physical processes like gravity.
Leo Tukoski is an artist in residence at Brooklyn Glass, located in the Gowanus section of Brooklyn. He's showing us how to manipulate and blow glass, components of which have been compared to a recipe for baking cookies. Glass is created in the furnaces on site, where the chemicals, including sand from beaches or silica, are heated to 2,400 degrees for 8 hours.
So to help bring that melting point down to a more realistic melting temperature, fluxes are added like aluminum oxide and potash. Those materials melt at a very low temperature, where silica melts at a very high temperature. And when they're mixed together, they kind of average that melting point out so that we can melt the glass at a more easier temperature.
Because glass is not normally clear, additional chemicals are added as decolorants.
So a lot of silica, most silica is heavy in iron content. If you were to melt that, then the iron gives the glass a green hue. Much in the same way that metal oxides color paint, they also color glass. If we want much clearer glass, we have to add decolorants like erbium and other chemical compounds that neutralize the iron oxide and prohibit it from coloring the glass.
And much like with removing color from glass, other chemicals are added to the batch in order to create colors in glass.
Cadmiums and seleniums for reds and yellows, cobalt for blue, manganese, iron oxides to create the greens and the blacks.
Boric acid is added to create stronger glass used in cookware like Pyrex. Glass is pure and does not allow the toxic chemicals to leach out. With glass at a temperature of around 1,600 degrees outside of the furnace, it's malleable to the point where it can even be shaped with the air from our lungs.
All right, blow please. Okay, stop.
They continue until the piece is just right, and they snap it off the blowpipe. Reheat, and he forms a lip on what is becoming a pitcher. Hannah works separately on a handle for the pitcher. They add the piece and stretch it into shape, and it all comes together. Leo adds the finishing touches to his piece, and it goes into something called an annealing oven for 8 hours, so that it can cool without cracking.
So I've always wanted to try this myself, so why don't we give it a try? What we're going to do is we're going to gather some glass here, and then we'll manipulate it.
Nice, excellent, that's great.
After a few minutes of work, my creation begins to take shape. Finished, but no. Masterpiece gone in an instant. But there's more to Brooklyn Glass. They also work with neon. I learned a lot, and it's a totally different experience. And if you want to try, Leo says they're waiting for you.
If you're interested in coming over here and trying your hand at a little bit of art, you can do that by coming to Brooklyn Glass. They have a site on the internet, and they're open 7 days a week. I'm Mike Gilliam for Arts in the City.
Our world in miniature, almost every square inch of it. You can see it at an exhibit just off Times Square, and when you see it, you'll wonder how they did it. Barry Mitchell tells more.
You know, micro apartments are the rage in New York, and now you've taken it to a new extreme.
Welcome to Gulliver's Gate, where people from around the world come to New York to see the world.
My name is Michael Langer. I'm the founder and CEO of Gullivers Gate, which is a 50,000 square foot permanent exhibit here in Times Square. There are over 600 artists and engineers that actually built this amazingly large place. Engineers that come from different types of backgrounds, structural, electrical. We have software people, and then we have a lot of, we call them crossovers, so that people who have experience in model making and fabrication but they have also technical specialties in 3D printing and design. So using 3D printing, we're able to create certain things, and then there are other sculptors who can create things out of balsa wood and hand carve.
Boy, this place is incredible. Some of these miniatures are so lifelike, it's like they could almost talk.
Hi, my name is Eva.
My name is Adrian Davies, and I am the head of model making here at Gullivers Gate. We have 2 workshops. On this side, we have our model lab, a contemporary maker space. We use 3D printing and a lot of computer technology. But on this side, we have our model workshop, which is primarily where we do a lot of our more arts and fine detailing, fine finishing, painting, gluing, the more human touch to the model.
What's the eye strain factor?
Well, it's not really so good, and what's wonderful about having these open and having visitors come, after working on miniature people up close like this, when we have visitors come, we get to look at real people in real scale, and it's always refreshing to get a chance to visit with our folks who come to see Gullivers Gate.
Right now, I'm making a detailed map of one of our exhibits that features all of the little trap doors that are built into our model, which allow our model makers and maintenance crew to pop up from underneath and do any of the cleaning and electronics maintenance and any number of other things that these models require to maintain them.
I was working at a high-rise residential-based architectural firm in Manhattan, and I was starting to get kind of tired of the monotonous high-rise residential projects, and I wanted to bring the computer and the physical world together and start working on models. Being able to work with your hands every single day was a dream to me. So that's why I came to Gulliver's Gate.
Find them at 216 West 44th Street. GulliversGate.com. Barry Mitchell, Arts in the City.
A popular tale of love, betrayal, and sacrifice during the Vietnam War is coming to the end of its current Broadway revival. Ernabel Demillo has more.
Miss Saigon is the story of a doomed romance between an American GI and a Vietnamese bar girl who fall in love right before the fall of Saigon. Leading the cast is a young woman who is as determined as the character Kim she's playing.
She may be young, but she's not stupid. She's not naive. You know, she knows how to learn and take it, and she's gritty, and she's a beautiful tigress, I think, and I think people forget that. I think people think that she's really weak and vulnerable and pity me, I'm gonna cry all the time. She's not. She's a fighter.
Eva Noblezada is making her Broadway debut with much fanfare. Playbill magazine dubbed her one of this season's Divas to Watch, a list that includes notable Broadway and Hollywood stars Patti LuPone, Glenn Close, and Bette Midler.
I was very speechless, but it made me more excited to come to New York.
The last time she was performing on a New York stage was when she was in high school, not too long ago. It was a performance that changed her life. In 2013, she was a finalist for a Jimmy Award, a high school musical competition. A casting agent just happened to be in the audience. She set up a meeting with Powerhouse producer Cameron McIntosh, who is casting for the Miss Saigon revival. And well, the rest, as the saying goes, is history. We interviewed Eva in the very office where she sang for McIntosh just days before her Broadway debut.
I'm excited, I'm not gonna lie, I'm really excited.
You're 17 years old, asked to be the lead in a musical.
Yeah, it was crazy.
When did that all sort of like sink in?
It didn't sink in officially until I kind of got home and was able to tell, of course, my mom and my dad.
So at 17, Eva, who is of Filipino and Mexican descent, decided to drop out of high school. She packed up and moved to London, stepping into the role made famous by Lea Salonga. Miss Saigon propelled Salonga into international stardom. She was discovered in Manila and a relative unknown to American and British audiences. Salonga also received a Tony Award for her performance. And while Eva knows she has big shoes to fill, she has made this role her own. She wasn't even born when Miss Saigon premiered.
It was nice to take my own spin on it, and not only, understand that she had been an inspiration to me, mostly out of Saigon, because I wasn't really familiar with Saigon before I started. But it was just an honor, really, to like follow in her footsteps and be able to make Kim my own, and to let people know that I guess it was me, like making Kim, breathing my own life into Kim. So that was really special, and she was nothing but encouraging when I met her.
Her West End debut opened to rave reviews by British theatre critics, one calling her performance touching and her soaring voice lending the show its heart. The show was set during the waning days of the Vietnam War and years after in Bangkok. For this revival, the writers have made some changes, including a new song and updated lyrics. This show also has a large Asian and Asian American cast, including Filipino John Briones playing the engineer. When Miss Saigon premiered back in 1991, there was much controversy and protest about the casting. Actors' Equity and many in the Asian American theater community condemned the producers with what they called yellow-facing by casting British actor Jonathan Pryce in the role of the Eurasian engineer. Mackintosh has since said publicly in an interview that he regrets making that decision, and many in the AAPI community have applauded his efforts to cast Asians in leading roles in both Les Miserables and Phantom of the Opera. In fact, immediately after her turn in Miss Saigon, Eva went on to play Eponine in Les Mis and was teamed up with Filipina actress Rachel Ann Go for the 30th anniversary of Les Mis in 2016. They are both reunited on Broadway in Miss Saigon, where Go reprises her role as Gigi.
When I was younger, I didn't really let race stop me. I wanted to be Eponine, and I wanted to be Wednesday Addams in Addams Family. Thankfully, I work for somebody who's already opened the door for diversity in his shows, like Ali Ewell, for example, or Lea Salonga playing Eponine and Fantine. And I mean, I'm fresh off from playing Eponine in the West End, and like I never thought I'd be able to do that. That for me was my ultimate, like I always wanted to play Eponine.
And now she's playing the role many girls dream about. You could see the Broadway revival of Miss Saigon through January 14th. For Arts in the City, I'm Ernabel Demillo.
A Brooklyn musician who's been playing in an underground rock band for more than 30 years tells how he keeps current. Tinabeth Piña has more.
David Grubbs started his punk music career in the 80s with bands like the Happy Cadavers and Squirrel Bait. But for him, it was more than just being in a band.
I started playing in punk bands when I was 14. And that's what authorized me to write music and start writing songs. When people ask me to describe music that I do now in the year 2017, and I'm really at a loss for where to begin with the description, I usually begin at the beginning and say something that's not very helpful to people, like I grew up playing in hardcore punk bands. It was a kind of grassroots youth cultural movement that was much larger than a musical style. Punk was that same thing for me.
Grubbs' music really evolved in the 90s when he became one of the pioneers of a brand of music called post-rock.
I moved to Chicago to go to graduate school and was involved in two groups for whom the concept of a rock band kind of dissolved. One was the Red Crayola, which at that point had been around for almost 30 years, and maybe 100 people had flowed through the Red Crayola, and Mayo Thompson was the founder, always described it as a non-membership organization. And the other group that I was in at the time was called Gastro del Sol, which was primarily the duo of Jim O'Rourke and myself and whomever we played with. Gastro del Sol seemed much more about the fact that in Chicago there were all kinds of willing participants who came from not only, the punk scene, but from improvised music, from jazz, from contemporary classical music, electronic music. A lot of what I've done since the late 1990s has been this string of solo records with different collaborators each time. it's very similar to my experience of being in groups like Gaster del Sol and the Red Crayola, where there was no fixed membership and you could kind of reinvent your practice from project to project. My newest solo record is called Creep Mission. The music on it, it's really oriented around the electric guitar. That's at the core of these, I guess I would call them wordless songs. I mean, they really feel like songs to me.
Grubbs' latest album emphasizes his long-standing love of vinyl. And as an artist and a fan of music, he seeks it out wherever he can.
I'm still very much oriented around making albums and working in the recording studio. I think that I was really of this first generation where people were making records at home, either with cassette 4-tracks or studios in their apartments. That's a rhythm of working I like. It's a kind of a host of aesthetic questions and options that I care very deeply about and, you know, really gravitate towards and enjoy diving in. I would say among musical and artistic peers of mine, the album, it hasn't disappeared, right? It hasn't dematerialized. It's still a way of checking in after a year or 18 months. It's a status report. 2 hours ago, I was at a record store in Brooklyn. You know, I buy records, I buy CDs, I buy new releases, I buy used records, I stream music, I listen to music via YouTube, I go to see live concerts. You know, I take it by hook or by crook. You know, like the attraction is to the music, it's not to the medium.
Over the past decade, Grubbs has fused his passion for music with an academic career as a music professor at Brooklyn College.
As far as having made records for a number of years and now being a teacher, I would say that what is relevant to students, and both undergraduates and graduate students, is that I continue to tour and make records and collaborate with other people. It's my experience of teaching that the most effective teaching in arts education, say, doesn't come from telling students what's most important or like, you know, this is the greatest work of the last 50 years or something like that, but really to, as best as possible, convey what your own attraction is or your own commitment is to a particular work or a particular idea.
David Grubbs performs frequently in the New York City area and tours around the world. To find out where he's performing next, just take a look at his Facebook page. For Arts in the City, I'm Tinabeth Piña.
There are so many wonderful historic sites in New York City that we promise ourselves we'll visit one day, but somehow we never find the time. We leave you today at one of them, our hidden gem.
Fraunces Tavern, 54 Pearl Street, had gone through a lot of changes. Since it was built in 1719, has not always looked exactly like it does today. But we do know that during the 1904 restoration of Fraunces Tavern, what they did was they peeled off the layers that the owners had added during the 19th century. And in 1907, they opened up what we still have today. It's Fraunces Tavern Museum and Restaurant. Sam Fraunces was an entrepreneur, and he just knew that he could really provide a different level of service and style to the people of New York if he had this mansion and turned it into a tavern. And he was very successful at it, so a lot of people loved Sam Fraunces' Tavern. So we're standing here at Fraunces Tavern Museum in the famous Long Room where George Washington bid farewell to his officers in 1783. The British had occupied New York City for most of the war, and George Washington thought it would be an appropriate location to have a gathering of some of the most prominent leaders of the war, because now it was the last place the British were, and it's this statement saying it's ours again and we've won. Throughout the 5 buildings, there are 9 galleries, and in the 9 galleries we exhibit some of our 8,000-piece artifact collection. That includes replica flags, furniture, household wares, paintings, and even a shoe that was supposedly belonged to Martha Washington. In Fraunces Tavern Museum's Messick Gallery, we have the Dunsmore illustrating the American Revolutionary War exhibit. And these paintings were done by Mr. Dunsmore in the turn of last century, and they're illustrations all surrounding the focus on the Revolutionary War. There's a wonderful painting of George Washington at night at camp, looking over a map, maybe it's a letter, and he's just so focused. If you want to visit Fraunces Tavern today, we'd love you to come on down. We offer free guided tours with admissions.
That's our show for today. For more information on any of our stories, log on to our website, CUNY.tv. Thanks for watching. I'm Tony Guida for Arts in the City.